Howard Hendricks is a guy I shared about a little while ago. He spoke on something when he was talking about leadership. He was asked to go to a church in America to talk to their leaders about how the church was doing and why they were having such trouble with their membership declining when they had perfected their services. They were doing it just the way they wanted to do it. They hadn't changed anything. The numbers had been growing, and now they were starting to decline. And Hendricks said to them, "Are you asking me here because you're worried about money?" And they said, "Truthfully, yes. The takings are down. There's less people in the church. They're giving less. As people are dying off, young people aren't coming through. We're losing membership. We're losing income. And we're going to struggle to survive." And Hendricks said this challenge to them. He said, "I have a very simple solution for your financial issues." This was in about the year 2002. He said, "Stick a big fence around the church, stick a turnstile on the front, sell tickets $1 a time to come and look at life in the 1950s. That must have hurt.
Ouch.
That must have hurt." He said, "Because you have not understood that the world outside your walls has changed so much that people come in and just think, I have no idea where I am. It feels like something from the 50s. Because they just said that message, if you always do, what you've always done, you'll always get what you always got. But that generation was dying away and they hadn't realised. So, okay, we're going to get into how we value it now. I haven't got much time, so I'm going to be relatively quick, which is a shame in some respect, but I knew I'd get carried away with this topic. Just want to share things that we're not going to be in response to this level of change that we're in. I said I hope it was going to be a bit of a shocking one. We're not going to be a bomb shelter. We're not going to live in what's also been called purity from. We do not believe, as an eldership, that the purpose of this church is to get inside the doors, I think you said this when we first preached about, slam the doors shut and protect ourselves from the world out there, which will poison us, which will cause us to become impure, which will infiltrate the minds of our children and get them to all the wrong things. Therefore, let's get ourselves in here, protect what we believe, and keep the world out. Mm-hmm. That's not what we're taught to do. Mark 2:15-17 says, while Jesus was having dinner at Levi's house, I'm sure you know this story, many of you, many tax collectors and sinners were eating with him and his disciples. And there were many who followed him. And when the teachers of the law, who the Pharisees, saw him, they said, why is he with these sinners and tax collectors? Why does he eat with them? And Jesus said, it is not the healthy who need the doctor, but the sick. I have not come to call the righteous, but to call the sinners. Jesus sat with the people in difficulty in the culture of the time. He did not say, I'll get you 12 disciples, we'll gather all the believers and we'll just keep you guys safe and we'll kind of build you up over the sin of my life and then I'm going to go and leave you guys to the word. He was always with the people, with the poor, with the downtrodden. He was absolutely connected with his culture at that time. The next one is defense against, which is similar but different in a way. It's kind of that everything that the world's doing that is changing, that we don't like and we don't agree with, we will absolutely resist all of it. So we will say that change doesn't suit us, resist, to a point where we are actually obsessed now with legislative issues, with actually arguing about points of law. So, and again, Titus 3, it actually says, but avoid foolish controversies and genealogies and arguments and quarrels about the law, because these are unprofitable and useless. I'm absolutely for when we see things that happen in our culture that we say that is absolutely opposed to the biblical view, that we represent that view. But there are some things that churches get involved in habitually that have nothing to do with changing that gospel message. And it's kind of a moral guardian type behaviour that actually sometimes has got nothing to do with the Bible. And we get lost in it. The next one, and the most dangerous one, and the one I want to sort of just highlight as the kind of one that I thought this is always our risk, is the mirror. A church that becomes a mirror. Romans 12:2, always back to this. Do not conform any longer to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of mind. Pattern of this world to be meant the culture that you're living in. Church as a mirror says, this is going on outside in culture. If we're to be relevant, we must do exactly the same. So therefore we've got to almost duplicate the world. And yet we're told not to do that. And the danger is when you're talking about modernisation, when you're talking about saying let's move things forward, let's understand the culture in, churches start to become obsessed with being so relevant, they forget that the gospel message was the thing that they were there to deliver. And it's all about being funky, hip, that sounds old expression as well, but funky, hip, bang up to date, got to get this thing absolutely on the edge of culture at all times. And that becomes your primary purpose. And that is back to the Funky Club. And we're here because we're here for Jesus Christ to save souls. The last one I'll touch very briefly, only very briefly, as a warning to us, because I don't think it's something we suffer from too much in UK churches, but there's one called parasitic, which is a church that actually comes into culture and takes. So it moves into culture and it takes up a building and it takes up the roads around it, and it doesn't seem to do anything for the society it's in. And the society around it, the culture say, that church does nothing for us. All it does on a Sunday is clog my roads up. Whenever I see them, all I want to do is get me in there to give them some money. It's a parasitic church that's obsessed with its business, not obsessed with the gospel of Jesus Christ. More importantly then than all of that is, what are we to be? I love this expression. This comes from Tim Keller. Faithful presence within. This is Corinthians 9:19. I use scripture to accentuate this, absolutely. This is Paul saying, though I am free and belong to no man, I make myself a slave to everyone, to win as many as possible. To the weak I become weak, to win the weak. I become all things to all men, so that by all possible means I might save some. I do all this for the sake of the gospel, that I might share in his blessings. We are to be salt and light. We are to be love in whatever situation we find ourselves in. We are to be in our schools, for the use of school, it's work, it's social setups, it's clubs, it's things that you're involved in. We are to be the light that shines in the middle of it all. It's different from the way in which we used to think about it. It's what we said in the video. It's not to stand on the preacher on the corner of the street shouting, you need Jesus. You need to understand where I'm coming from here. It's that you're in situations where you have shown Jesus' love, people know you're a Christian, and they'll ask you a question, and you say, you know what, we all need Jesus. It's a different approach to that of the past. I know a great example. If you get a chance to watch this, you need to be careful, I will say this,